Hi, it's Mims. This morning we're going to be making cinnamon rolls. So this is a really lovely, indulgent, definitely weekend breakfast. Really simple recipe, so I'm just going to talk you through what I'm doing. This is also a good recipe. If you do have a sourdough starter going, you can use some of your discarded sourdough for this recipe. So I have done that. You don't have to, it's completely just I'm using something up. So if you do have a sourdough starter going, I just pop it at the bottom, just what I want to get rid of. I've used about 100 grams, but it doesn't change the recipe in any way whether you use this or not. I'm not using it as a rising agent, I'm just using it to not waste. So that's that part. Okay, so you're going to need 400 grams of plain flour, which I've already weighed off. So you just pop them in your mixer or your bowl or whatever you're using. And then you want 180 ml of milk and 55 grams of butter. Now I just put them all together. I measure my milk and then I put 55 grams of butter on top. Then I'm going to pop that on the microwave until the milk is warm and the butter's melted, and then combine them together. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so that's been in the microwave about a minute. The butter took a while to melt, but that's ready. So the milk's warm and the butter is melted. So I've mixed them together and I'm just setting it aside. So now I've got my flour in here. I need to pop my yeast in. So I'm going to pop, I've got 7 grams of easy bake yeast. Really? So I've got my 7 grams of easy bake yeast that I'm just going to pop on the side of the bowl. You want to put it on the side because you don't want any salt to go anywhere near your yeast. So I'm just going to put it in the far corner. Okay, and now you want half a teaspoon of salt. Now you need to make sure the salt's not near the yeast, so I'll pop that the other side. Okay. Now my milk still feels quite warm, so I'm going to give it about 5 minutes or so before I put it in. I don't want it to be too hot and it harm my yeast or something of the sort. So I'm just gonna wait a little because it is still quite hot. Like you certainly wouldn't give this temperature to a baby. So I'm gonna leave it aside until it's just a bit cooler. Right, so our milky buttery mixture is a bit of a better temperature. I waited about 5 minutes. Just didn't want it to be too hot. So now what I'm going to do is create a bit of a well in my pot and just pour it in. Bosh. Now I'm going to put it in the mixer using a dough hook. Now if you're doing this by hand, you can just mix it with a spoon, say, and then when it starts to form a ball, you knead it for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to do it all in my mixer, and it will take about 5 minutes to knead. The dough starts to really come together very nicely now. I'll just show you what it looks like as a picture. There's about a minute left in the mix. Okay, so that's ready now. Just taking it out. What I'm going to do is just plop it on the side while I'll oil my pot. I don't want to use up more necessarily, so I can just pop some oil in my bowl, just so it doesn't stick when it rises. The good thing about using the warm milk, obviously you don't want it to be cold milk anyway, because it doesn't do any good for the proof, but with it being warm, it's already, the dough still feels kind of warm, so it'll do well when it's proven. Just putting a bit of oil in a bowl. You can use any oil really, it doesn't matter. Let me just oil in the bowl so I can stop it from sticking. Then my oily hand will get dough stuck to it. Although it's a lovely dough, it's not too wet or anything. I'm just going to pop it in there, cover it in cling film or damp kitchen towel and just wait an hour. So this is now going to prove for an hour. Try not to keep it somewhere cold, but usually just the side of the kitchen will be fine. But if it was winter, say, probably don't put it on the winter ledge. Unless it's sunny, then it'll be fine. I'm just going to leave this for an hour. Now I'm going to show you the next step. So this is for our cinnamon filling. What we're going to do is take 1 minute, let me check. So we're going to take 110 grams of butter, which I've got here. We're going to melt them, and then we're going to combine it with 200 grams of soft brown sugar, if you have it. I didn't, so I used a mix of caster sugar and brown sugar. I did 100 grams of each, but you're looking at 200 grams of brown sugar, soft brown sugar, caster sugar, whatever works, whatever you have. So I'm going to do that, melt this first, then combine. So the butter's now nice and melty, so I'm just going to give it a stir. Use this spoon from earlier. And I'm dumping it into my sugar mixture. Now onto this mixture I'm going to put about a tablespoon of cinnamon powder. So I'll do that. I'm not measuring it because you never have too much cinnamon, I don't think. I think that'll do. Then just give it a mix. And this will be your filling for your cinnamon rolls. So it's what it looks like now. I'll take a photo. I'm going to add a little bit more cinnamon. That's a lot more cinnamon. It's fine. It's all good. Now it does look a little bit runny, but that's okay because it's going to just sit on the side while everything else does its thing, and the butter will start to set a bit more anyway, so it's all good. Right, so I'll see you in an hour. So an hour's gone by and we're ready to get rolling, literally. So our dough's proved, done its first prove, it's grown quite a bit. So I'm going to uncover it. And then I'm going to shape it into a sort of rectangle. Okay, there we go. Now, previously I spoke how I put a little bit of my sourdough starter, that bit I would normally discard, into it. Obviously that's completely optional, and if you don't have sourdough starter you don't need to do that. But when it was quite hard to get hold of yeast, I tried to see if I could do them with sourdough, and it works. I did an overnight prove, but the problem with them is that I felt the sourdough gave it quite a sour flavour, which you'd expect, but I personally didn't like it in cinnamon rolls, and what is normally a big hit with the family was not, so I wouldn't do that again, but it was worth trying. So I'm going to just shape this into a sort of rectangle, or try my best to anyway. Get these like weird shapes when rolling out dough? Is that just me? Pick these bits up. Just whack them down a bit and then just shape them again when it tends to work, just so it's level. Okay, now that I've got myself a little rectangle, I'm just going to put my sugary, cinnamony, buttery mixture, which is here, giving it a bit of a stir. Now this does get a little bit messy, but it's all good. Nothing you can't wipe down later. Now I'm going to spread this out as best I can, as evenly as possible. Okay. Now because of how we're going to cut them, we're going to roll it and cut them that way. You just want to make sure that the length of it, sorry, the height of it is covered. If you have bits of it that aren't as evenly covered and the width of it, it's not so bad because there will be more within the roll. So just do your best to spread it around evenly. I have tried using just a bigger amount of mixture, but then when you cut it, you have bits splurging out everywhere and it's just really messy to work with. So I'd rather do a little bit less and spread it out further. It's also a little bit less sugar on what is a very, very indulgent pudding. Breakfast, whatever. I'd love to have this for a Christmas morning breakfast. Now obviously I don't want to be baking this like in this way on Christmas morning because it would take a lot of time. It's already a busy day and you kind of want to just enjoy the day, right? So my thought is I'm going to try and make them. I'm probably going to do a batch, maybe 2 or 3 at once. And once it's done all its proofs, and they're going to pop it in the freezer, then defrost overnight and bake it that way and see if that would work. I'll test it out and let you know probably in the future if it does work, because that would be ideal. It would be great to just be able to take this out of the freezer, stick it in the oven and have like freshly baked cinnamon rolls for Christmas morning. That's an idea. Anyway. That is nicely spread out, so here comes the next step. Now we're just going to roll it a bit like a Swiss roll. So we're going to just get rolling. Apparently I'm starting from this side. Just carefully roll. Okay, there we go. Now, just even off the ends. I'm going to pop it on a chopping board, because now we're going to get cutting. I'm also going to get my tray ready. So I use one of these tin foil trays. They're just really handy. They come with a lid so you can store it later. I get mine from Costco. I get quite a few. They're really good for batch cooking and popping in the freezer as well. So really quite useful. So I'm going to pop it in there. Now what we're going to do is just cut slices about 1/2 inch wide and then lay them face up in trays, but I'll show you how I do it. So, pop it here, and pop it out of the way. There we go. So I'm looking for about 1/2 inch wide slices. I'm going to pop them facing up. You want quite a sharp knife, which this is not. Let me get a sharper knife. You sharp? It's better. Okay. Then you pop them face up. So I'm going to put them there. You don't want to push down, because if you push down, you kind of ruin the shape a little bit, and it will make the mixture split out everywhere. So face up. Okay. Face up. It forms a really nice little pattern of rings. This is already a little bit messy with this amount of sugary, buttery mixture, so imagine if we had even more. So that's my preference, right? Okay, a bit more. Doesn't matter if you have a few gaps in between with your cinnamon rolls, because as they do their second proof, and then definitely when they're baked, they'll fill in the gaps themselves. Try and square it off a little bit, just push the back end a bit forward, just so it don't end up with a funny bit at the end. Now, I'm going to try and split this one into two. They are going to be messy, but honestly, when they're baked, it doesn't matter. That's a bit of a sugary mess. Put that one there. That one there. So I'm going to pop them to do a second proof. This is what they're looking like at the minute. I'm going to cover it in cling film and give it 30 minutes. And while that's doing its thing and doing its second proof, I'm going to preheat the oven to 180. It would be 200 it would be 200 if it wasn't a fan assisted oven. It's 180 for me because I use a fan oven. Okay, so let's do that. Hey, so they've done their second proof. Half an hour's gone past. Look a little bit plumper. So they'll be going in the oven. I've set the oven to 180 fan, like I said earlier. And yeah, they'll be in there for about 20-25 minutes. I've tried to leave them closer to the 25-minute side just because otherwise the middle can be a bit doughy and I just think it's nicer that way. So I'm going to pop them in the oven now. Okay, I've set a timer. Now I'm going to show you how to do the glaze. Now you don't need to do this, but I think it's a nice touch. So all you do is you get some icing sugar. I use about 3 tablespoons and then about a teaspoon of water. And you just mix it until it forms like a bit of a dribbly paste. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'll pop a picture on. It's just a runny icing. What you do when it's come out of the oven and it's cooled slightly, you can just dribble it on top. You don't have to, it's up to you. It's just a nice touch. Okay, I'll see you in about 25 minutes. This is what they're looking like. I'm going to pop them here. I'm going to give them about 5 minutes before I put the icing on them. They're looking beautiful. Alright, so they've cooled enough now, so I'm just going to pop the icing on them. Just very haphazardly, just to give them a little bit of a drizzle. All done. This is what they're looking like. I'll link anything I've used below just so that you've got it quick access. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Make sure that you subscribe and you click the notification bell because otherwise it won't let you know when I've got a new video up. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.